talk a little bit more about the pitching. I don't know about you, but I'm not too concerned about the starters. Christopher Sanchez has established himself as an elite starter. Of course, Zach Wheeler won't be back to start the 2026 season, but he'll be back eventually. Jesus Luzardo has looked great, and I imagine they lock him down. I think Ranger Suarez will get back to form, hopefully with the Phils. Who knows what's going to happen there? And of course, you have the Jekyll Hyde case of Aaron Nola, but you're stuck with him because of his contract, And you just have to hope you get the good version more often than the bad. I don't even want to think about Taijuan Walker. That said, the bullpen is where most of my concern is. You mentioned earlier, we don't know if Johan Duran is going to be back or not. Matt Strom's contract is expiring. After what happened in Game 4, you have to wonder about Kerkering's mental state moving forward. Is he going to be able to come back? Just what's going on in his head. I actually was a fan of I still am. I'm a fan of Kerkering, but you have to wonder, is he going to be mentally strong enough to come back from what happened, especially since there are, I said in the beginning, a lot of casuals are blaming it all on him. And that can take a toll on you mentally and emotionally. So you're watching the guys in waiting. Other than Painter, is there anyone who might not be on most of our radars who the Iron Pigs might send up, or are we looking at some kind of free agency to fill up the pen?
You're going to be looking at free agency. A lot of, like I said, anybody who is decent, they've worked in through the rotation throughout the season this year. When I'm looking at the Iron Pigs roster now, I mean, Adonis Medina was pretty decent for them, but he's also 31 years old. What does somebody like that have? Really, other than Painter, that's kind of it. Everybody else is kind of in that like high 20s, low 30s. They're career minor leaguers. They've been here, there, and everywhere. And really, that's one of Dombrowski's, I think, biggest failures as a GM is they have not really went hard on cultivating pitching prospects to the way that, to their credit, the Dodgers have. Everybody said, oh, well, wait till you get to the Dodgers bullpen and they fall apart. And we saw that in that series. But, it seems like in the playoffs that they've run 2 playoff series and their bullpen has been fairly tight. And was it, the Phillies just being off? Maybe, but, that's Phillies were the second series that bullpen was facing to get where they are. They had a wild card series and then there was the division series, and we'll see what the Brewers do with them, I suppose. But, going back to the Phillies and their problems, it's been several years that there just have not been any sort of pitching prospects, Painter excluded. I mean, like I said, I've been with the Iron Pigs I just finished up my 7th season, excluding the 2020 season, for obvious reasons. But excluding 2020, we have not seen any real pitch. It's always been hitting. They had in AAA, it was the Bash brothers. You had Rhys Hoskins and Dylan Cousins. They were the Bash brothers, and they were just, beating the crap out of everybody by the long ball. And, you had Stott come through, and Stott was a big hitter. It's always been one of those things where there's always been focus on the bats and not on pitching. And that's been a failure with a lot of the GMs over the years recently with the Phillies. And unfortunately, I don't see that changing because there's really not much in the pipeline. It's going to have to be free agents. And I think that's, leading up to this point, they've always had the money to spend for free agents. Now, if you have players that you want to bring back, you're going to have that luxury tax. To me, I've always believed that, okay, if you have a luxury tax and you want it, you're going to pay it. Just like in the NFL. All right, the cap is crap. There's always ways to maneuver a salary cap, when you're these GMs. But as far as, they have to look pretty seriously at, okay, well, what do we want to spend to get another arm or two, and where are they going to find it? And it's always been these, oh well, we get these cast-offs from other teams, or we get these career minor leaguers, and we're hoping that we can fix them or they get hot or whatever. And they haven't even had the coaching staff to really do that, because I don't know if you've ever looked at what in the minor leagues across all of AAA, I think AAA's ERA as a whole is somewhere around 5.5. So it's just so tough to find anybody who's a sub-5 pitcher, period, at that level. And it's just it's a bunch of guys, and it is what it is,